Hey, it's Greg at the Vinyl Community. Thanks for tuning in. That crazy cat, Vinyl Richie, has only just gone and done 11 years of community service on the Vinyl Community. He has been making videos for 11 years. Now, that is a stellar achievement. And to sort of recognise the fact, he set us all a challenge. And the challenge is really simple. Show 11 pieces of music from bands that have 11 letters in their title. So without further ado, and the other mix there is to show your favourite two formats. So my favourite two formats are indeed records and CDs. So I've got 11 items here, all with bands or artists with 11 letters in their name or band title. Now that you'd think would be fairly okay, wouldn't you? But you know what? You go through your record or your CD collection and you start thinking, right, I need to look at bands with long names. So you think David Bowie, he'll have 11, 10. You think Funkadelic, he'll have 11 letters in the title, 10. You think Iron Maiden, they're bound to have 11 letters in their title, 10. So it's not as easy as it would seem. And I think Vinyl Richie knew this when he set the task. Anyway, without further ado, here we go. So I'm going to mix this up a little bit. So we're going to kick off with Love Battery. Now, this is a cracking mini LP released on Sub Pop Records, originally from 1990. And there's 6 songs on here that are absolutely amazing, psychedelic, grunge, sort of alternative rock type thing. And there's a particular track on here called Highway of Souls, which is just fabulous. It really lifts off. It's really quite emotional, the way it's been sung. A really fabulous piece of music. Staying with the Sub Pop theme, we're going to go for another mini LP by Soundgarden, one of my favourite bands. This was one of their early records called the Screaming Life EP, and you've got 6 tracks on here: Hunted Down, Entering, Tears to Forget, Nothing to Say, Little Joe, and Hand of God. And I will just show this one off because it's an absolutely gorgeous coloured vinyl, actually. It's like this sort of like sky blue marbledy effect. Not sure how well that's coming across on video, but an absolutely brilliant early slice of Soundgarden on Sub Pop Records. What we'll do is we'll just mix it up a little bit. We'll stay with Sub Pop for the time being. We'll nip over to CDs, and this is the latest CD by a band called Afghan Wigs, How Do You Burn? And again, it's just a return to form for the Wigs. They're really at the most sort of visceral best, sort of angry, charged sort of rock soul music that only they really know how to do. A great album. Also on the CD format, a nice little sort of link over from Greg Dooley in the Afghan Wigs to Greg Dooley in the Gutter Twins, and he's working with Mark Lanigan. And we all know Mark, bless him, with his sort of bluesy sort of tones of voice, and he brings in that sort of real sort of depth to this music. And the Gutter Twins, if you've not heard of them, it's pretty much what you'd expect from a compilation with Greg Dooley and Mark Lanigan, and it's 10 out of 10 all day long. Really enjoyable listen on a rather nice digipack. And there's the 2 lads there in the studio. Okay, so we'll just nip back to records now, and a classic band, classic bit of rock, Led Zeppelin, and this album called Presence. Now, I do like the presentation of this album in the gatefold and all the pictures with the obelisk in random places. There's a guy there about to play golf with the obelisk. There's a baby there having his heart checked with the obelisk. Now, this is an absolutely wonderful album, and there's a track on here that I think everybody should really listen to, and it's 10 minutes of absolute class, and it's Achilles' Last Stand, which has just got the most beautiful guitar and drum work. And there's the record label. It's on that lovely Swan song there. Again, an absolutely great piece of classic rock. And staying sort of on the classic rock theme, this is an album I've been given a lot of attention recently, and it's Dire Straits, and it's their first album with Sultans of Swing on. And it's just great, real sort of Martin Knopfler and his guitar work is all over this, but sort of really bluesy, and it's the first incarnation of the band. And there's a drummer here called Pick Withers, and he's sort of a bit sort of jazzy and really talented drummer, and that really comes across in the music. Now, Pick Withers was only on the first 3, I believe, Dire Straits albums. And they're the best albums, I think, in terms of sort of musical quality and sort of bluesy feel to them. So, cracking piece of vinyl there. We'll just nip over to CDs again, and we've got Queen's Rye, the first mark of the band, with Jeff Tate on vocals. This is the album that sort of introduced me to the band. I think it was back in 1990. Yeah, 1990 this came out. And it's called Empire. Now, this is the Japanese version, actually, and it comes with this lovely sort of booklet here with lyrics and all sorts of information and band information and really nice photos of the band at the time and all this great stuff going on. And you've got lyrics in Japanese, which aren't much good to me, but you've also got lyrics in English as well in there somewhere. Well, they are in there somewhere. There we go. So that's a really nicely presented CD. Put that over there. And this guy, we all like a bit of Pearl Jam, don't we? And their vocalist, Eddie Vedder, really has a voice to die for. And this album, Into the Wild, originally I saw the film, and obviously I knew straight away once I saw the film, that's Eddie Vedder singing. And I had to get the CD, and it's just great. It's really mainly sort of acoustically driven music, and his voice is just on top form. It really is. Some great songs on here. If you want to just pick one out, try Society, give that a listen, or Hard Sun is another cracking track on there. Great piece of work there from Eddie. We'll go for another CD. A lady I've liked for years, Talia Zedek, and this one, Been Here and Gone, is one of her early albums when she went solo from the early noughties. And there's a wonderful track on here, track 6, Dance Me to the End of Love, which is a cover of Leonard Cohen. Now, you've got to be on top form to cover that guy, and she really does it beautifully well. So great album, Talia Zedek. That's on Matador Records. And then we're going to finish off with 2 more albums. We got the wonderfully soul, funky voiced Gwen Guthrie here. An absolutely great album. And she works here. You've got wonderful tracks on here like Peekaboo, Your Turn to Burn, stuff that just gets you moving around. On the B-side, there's a great cover of the legend that is Bob Marley, and she covers Is This Love and puts her own stamp on it. She's working on this album with Sly Dunbar and Robbie Shakespeare, so, it's really got that sort of rootsy feel to it. An absolute gorgeous album. And that cover really reflects the music inside, fun, and sort of enjoyable music. Really well done. And finally, sort of staying with sort of like a dub kind of reggae theme, we're going to round off with Tapazuki. Now, I picked this up on a record store day, maybe sort of 8 or 9 years back, the MPLA sessions. And this is great. You've got some classic Tapa songs on here, and then you've got the dub version straight after. So you've got Pick Up the Rockers dub, MPLA dub, Go Donati dub, and then Marcus and Marcus dub, Chalice the Chalice and Chalice the Chalice dub, and Don't Deal with Babylon, Don't Deal with Babylon dub on Jamaican recordings. And again, as with a lot of the RSD stuff, it comes on a lovely vinyl. In this instance, kind of yellowy vinyl, which is great, and it sounds absolutely boss, does that. So 11 records or CDs there by bands with 11 letters in their title. A great idea, this, Richie, and congratulations for your 11 years, and here's to the next 11. Take care, mate. Bye-bye.